Oh, baby boy, we're back again. Back for another episode of The Letter, episode 17. Let's just get back into it, shall we?
Besides, I don't really think you'll believe me if I wake you up over something like that.
That's beside the point. True or not, there are people who will always be concerned about you. There's Zachary, but he's the first person you went to, and you didn't tell him anything. You just slept there. There's Ashton too, and me. But how do you think I'll be able to explain to your aunt or your family if you suddenly disappeared? Think about that.
Right. I'll remember that next time.
Then she grins, playful and mischievous, a preamble to an old banter. It's still not quite there, still not quite her usual self, but with it, I know we're bound to see it.
I told you not to call me that.
I send an elbow to her side for added measure, but when laughter follows the familiar gesture, none of it is unexpected. This is what's comfortable. This is how we found an equal ground despite our stark differences. So, for the moment, I accept things as they are. Afterwards, a hush stretches out before us. For Isabella, this is rare. This isn't her. Yet, in this moment, as she fiddles with the edge of another paper near her, and as she hugs her knees close to herself and lets a pensive expression linger on her, it feels strangely, as if it were everything supposed to lead, if we were allowed it long ago. Seconds later, the moment is broken by the sound of a door easing open and a voice begging some little peace.
How many times have I told you girls not to loiter around the hallway? It's noisy. Some people here are trying to sleep. Quiet down or go do your talking inside. I'm pinning a memo to your door the next time this happens. Millennials.
Sorry, we won't do it again.
You'd better.
The door closes and Isabella starts gathering the mess she made, carefully stacking them all in her arm. At a loss for what to do, I help her pick them. For the first time, I get a closer look at it. Completely unintentional, of course. But it catches my attention nevertheless, and a confused frown makes its way to my face. Why is she looking through this? I look to her for an explanation, but she merely ignores this question in my eyes, takes the paper off my hands, and finishes cleaning up. The last paper she puts on top is a letter. The one she supposedly found in the mansion, and what's probably the root cause of this odd behavior. I shoot her a questioning look for that too, but all she gives me is a smile. And in a halting tone, she completely,
Becca,
unlike her.
I'll find a way out of this. You guys don't have to worry about me. Anyways, I should go. I'll see you later.
Where are you going?
Getting myself some food. Don't wait for me.
Isabella walks away before I can stop her, but I can remind her I brought food enough for the two of us before I can. She quickly disappears down the stairwell while I'm left standing in an empty hallway holding 2 bags of takeout. One of them will go uneaten tonight. Just an innocent passing thought, one that I don't dwell much on as I head back to my room. I ignore all of it in the same way I've assumed I won't ever encounter that again. October 27th. The brief lull the past 2 days has offered is nice while it lasted. Or as nice as it can, with worries of Isabella's whereabouts creeping up to me every now and then. She hasn't showed up after the last talk we had in the hallway, and the dinner I bought had since given to a different neighbor before it spoils. But by all means, this shouldn't be anything to lose sleep over. She's gone on work trips before, usually for a day or two. This might simply be one of those, although it's often with the message saying where exactly. But it's the dour note that she ended our last chat with that gnaws.
Like an ugly premonition.
And as expected, just as things start to settle and a steady rhythm finally worms its way back into my routine, Thursday morning brings further disturbance to the now calm hallway. With little ceremony, though, still enough to ripple through everything. In retrospect, I really should have seen this coming. Luxembourg is a small city, relatively speaking. Compared to, say, London or Glasgow, it's nothing but a tiny mass of land boasting a mere population. But those numbers alone are nothing to scoff at when standing in a busy street. And if you pay close enough attention, faces taking the crosswalk or riding the subway will soon grow familiar. How unfortunate that out of that number has to be the Tio fucking Luke I encounter more than once.
Oh, you know, a few problems popping up here and there that the agents failed to tell us somehow. Nothing a few hired hands can't fix, of course. I would have preferred a place near the city and something that's new to save us all the trouble, but darling wife insisted. Who am I to say no?
Ah, are you kidding me?
His smug head is the first thing I see upon turning into the hall, in spite of the small crowd of parents and students gathered at the corridor for the primary career day. It's not that he stands out. He's pretty unremarkable at first glance, frankly. However, it is his countenance that draws people's eyes to him. The manner he carries himself with all the confidence in the world, his mere presence dwarfing everything around him. I'm willing to make a bet he's also enjoying the attention it garners him, especially the ones coming from the women.
What an ass.
A single glance at him and I know immediately that, one way or the other, if we ever bump into each other again, my day will be efficiently be ruined in some capacity. He also exudes that air, the sorts that makes you want to run him over with a lorry and pass it off as an unfortunate accident. With him, it's either you want to punch him or let yourself be charmed. There's no in between. I'll gladly do the honor of the former myself, but alas, there are people around us. Now I'm stuck with having to face one of the two.
I shouldn't have volunteered.
At the time, helping out sounded a good idea. I've no classes left today until after lunch. I could have opted to stay at the teacher's lounge and work on my lesson plans, but that means being left alone with our deputy head and his chatter. He's a good man, but Crivens, he could talk anyone's ears off. So the moment opportunity arose, I jumped it. It's a simple task to boot. Just deliver a whole box of materials and a few posters for the event, maybe stay around to assist if time will allow it. I just wasn't expecting him to show up here, out of the frying pan and into the fire. Had I known, I would have stayed and suffered through our deputy's impromptu speeches about his life crisis instead. But what's done is done. Going back is also out of the question. With how unexpectedly heavy the load I'm carrying is, I'd hate to lug this for a trip back just because my pride can't take another second of interaction with the guy. He's insufferable, alright, but I've had my fair share of dealings with teens of more or less the same temperament, all considerably younger than him, and they listened. If he wants to be difficult like last time, so be it, but he can bet his sorry English ass I'm not standing down. Left with no other choice, I brace myself and suck in a breath, mustering every bit of patience I have as I step into the hall. My grip on the box tightens around when I pull it closer to me and attempt to assume a low-key air as I amble towards the room. The box is not big enough to hide my face, even with the stuff piled on top, but if all else fails, I can just hit him with it. Still, a small prayer forms in my head. There's even one listening out there. Please grant me enough restraint. Better yet, I hope he doesn't notice me at all. That'll definitely make my life easier. Seriously, how hard can it be? Dude, that hair, dude. He's standing a few ways from the door, and there are plenty of people between us to use for cover. If I'm careful, I can just go in, hand in the soup box to whoever's in charge, forget every plan of staying longer than necessary, and step out as soon as I can. Easy as pie. But as luck would have it, the exact moment I reach the room's threshold, someone barrels towards me. She latches onto my waist before topping the sudden commotion with a gleeful squeal.
I knew it's you!
The force of it nearly throws me off balance, and I am stacked atop the box, tilting dangerously to the sides. With the child's added weight at my waist, pinning me on the spot and both my hands occupied, watching is the only thing I'm able to do. The short seconds in between slows as everything gradually slides off the box's small surface. Under different circumstances would have made for a funny story some other time. Comical even. Till another set of hand reaches out and steadies the posters, threatening to take a nosedive right to the floor. My entire body freezes. Upon hearing his voice alone, an irrational impulse to hit him immediately bubbles up. But before my limbs could catch up with what my brain is currently screaming at me, he moves to take the burden off my arms. Irritation gives way to surprise, then confusion. It is in that moment when instinct finally kicks in and I tug the box close to me before he can fully lift it off.
What are you doing?
What does it look like? You're surprisingly slow on the uptake for someone of your profession, aren't you? Bloody, doesn't this school have people for this kind of work? So much for being a center of academic excellence.
I'm going to ignore that slight to my alma mater and my work, because that's not what I'm trying to get at. You know what? Why don't we just rephrase that to something you'll easily understand? Why exactly are you doing this?
Well, you look like you could use a bit of help. Have you seen your face while you were heaving this around?
Mister, I'm pretty sure if there's ever a look on my face, it's entirely because I saw something extremely unpleasant this morning.
Aren't you a ball of sunshine today, Daisy? Having a bad day, aren't we?
Oh, you have no idea.
I'd put it away if I were you. You might scare the children.
You don't have to worry about that. This isn't my department. I was just asked to bring these. Anyway, I can handle this myself, mister. The room's just right over there. Behind you, in fact. Now, if you could please move over and make way, it would do the whole world some good.
Keeping my voice level throughout is a miracle in itself, but regardless of how polite my request is, he doesn't budge. Did what I've just said merely fly over his head? Were my choice of words really that difficult to comprehend? Surely it shouldn't be that hard. I think he might be a little touched in the head. I'd like to ask him that actually, but Kylie chooses that instant to pipe in.
Don't worry, Miss Pink. Tio's strong. You can leave this to him. My papa does it lots of times, but I'm not allowed to talk about it to anyone. Tio says it's
Confidential, Munchkin.
That's right. Tio's smart, isn't he, Miss Pink?
Genius. I'm still of the opinion that he's a piece of shite, but I must admit his goddaughter's excellent excitement is contagious as always. A smile makes its way to my lips. She has yet to budge from her place, though, to be honest. I'm starting to lose some feelings on my stomach at how tightly she wound her arms around it.
I'm sure he is, Kylie. But I'm also sure he'll find better use for it elsewhere.
Like helping you out.
Oh, well, that's one thing, but
You heard the kid.
no one's asking you.
Oh, you wound me, woman.
And I'm quite certain I can do more damage than that. Shall we give it a try? Again?
He pales, stammers for a bit, but he ultimately decides against saying anything and settles for a brief show of discomfort instead. He's probably having flashbacks of the last time we met. His composure, when he finally regains some of his bearings, says it all. It's nothing short of hilarious, if I do say so myself.
I'll have you know that threats never work on me, Daisy. Not in a million years, not ever.
You're assuming it's a threat. How cute.
That too. I'm not scared of you. Just because you landed a hit.
Uh-huh. Do go on. Keep telling yourself that.
It was a fluke, you hear? I was caught off guard and your damn book left a dent. If I end up in a hospital because of what you did, I'm sending the chief of Luxburn Police after you, woman.
You don't say.
Just give me that bloody box.
He snatches it out of my arms before a single word of protest exits my mouth and quickly disappears behind the classroom. Not that it matters who brings it in now, my prior irritation has already melted into amusement. He's not so bad once you figure out how his temperament works. It's almost similar to a child. Though I still have to ask.
Kylie, did your Tio eat something bad before coming here? He's unusually nice today.
A far-fetched idea, I know, but it's the only reason I can think of why this arsehole is suddenly acting like a decent human. He's quite, frankly, far from being. First and foremost, we didn't end our last meeting on a good note. If I were him, I'd avoid the very person who put a dent on his skull, as he so aptly put it. Why he's acting friendly 2 days later?
He always is. But I made him promise to be extra nice to you since you helped me so much. I think you're gonna be great friends.
I quickly stomp on the urge to groan loudly or gag at that. He's the last person I ever want to be chummy with in this whole city, but Kylie doesn't need to know that.
Are you sure it's not something he ate during breakfast?
I gave him some jelly babies this morning. Really brought me lots of them. Mama said I should share, so I offered half of it to Tio when he picked me up. He likes the black ones.
Oh, that's probably why he's weird. Jelly baby overdose.
He could have done everyone a favor and choked on them while he's at it.
Do you want some? I've got more. I can't play Melody or Takako this morning, but I'm sure they'll be fine sharing some of it with you.
I'm okay.
No, I'm not really very fond of them. I was just asking. Oh, where's your mum, by the way?
Out of town with Papa.
An unexpected pang hits me at her words. The statement, though innocent enough, unearths a whole trunk of memories from childhood. So eerily familiar. Nights spent eating dinners alone, the numbers of days coming home to an empty house growing with each passing year. And sometimes several Christmas Eves spent with relatives instead of my own family. It's too late to think about it now, but when I remember, the dull ache is still there. Familiar, though lessened by the years now. Beside me, Kylie takes a step back, having gotten tired of clinging to me. There's nothing but cheer in her. She doesn't seem too affected by the fact. Although it makes me wonder how much of it is real and how much there is to mask the loneliness, if there's even one. What a lucky child.
Weren't they informed of Career Day beforehand?
Yeah, I told them all about it. Mama was looking forward to it.
And they still left?
Uh-huh. It's important business, so it can't be helped. They promised to tell me about it when they come back tomorrow, though. Papa said he'll give me a gift if I behave. I've been a good girl, right, Miss Pink?
You always are. But they asked they asked your Tio to look after you? For this?
Nope, they didn't.
No? Then how?
It was supposed to be Tia. Mama likes her better than Tio, so she asked her, but she's sick and had to visit the doctor today. Oh, that's supposed to be a secret, by the way. Oh, but I think it's a bit confusing because Tio said she also went shopping. That's unfair. Don't you think so, Miss Pink? Mama doesn't allow me to go out when I'm sick. It's still okay, though, since Tio always buys me sweets before we go home. I'm gonna ask for a parfait today. Extra large. Don't tell Takako, okay?
Listening to her like this, it's easy to get a picture of where Kylie's fondness for the guy comes from. She's far from a demanding child. Unless you've made a promise of some sort, she never forgets those. She'll make friends with anyone, wherever she is. Buy her a few things and voila, you're settled. No wonder she's so attached to the man. The douche probably showers her with gifts whenever he can. I can't say if the sentiment's the same for the latter, however. He doesn't seem the type, and probably just does it for the sake of getting some peace and quiet whenever he's with the girl. Classic
But
techniques.
before that, I'm gonna show him to everyone first. It's gonna be great. No one else has a gazillionaire fairy godfather. Also, when I grow up, I'm gonna be exactly like him and marry someone really handsome. Like Tia did. That way, I can be awesome too.
Oh, you poor child. There's some sort of misguided logic in there that I'd like to correct. But before I can say my piece, douchebag steps in, fresh out of the commotion from the classroom behind us, and plows in the conversation with every subtlety a wrecking ball. No shite given, despite no one asking for her
sweetie,
opinion.
trust me. You don't have to marry someone for that to happen.
I don't?
Just do your thing, darling. I'm quite sure you can do great things on your own without lugging around an extra baggage with you.
Tia married you.
Kylie drops the statement without any sort of preface, and the moment it lands, the douche finds himself grappling with the conversation.
Yeah, well, That's true, Munchkin, technically.
Big oof.
But it's not the same thing.
Small frown creases the girl's eyebrows as she tries to comprehend her Tio's rather vague explanation. It's not surprising either when Luke tenses under the child's questioning gaze. It's familiar. I've seen the same look a great deal of times before on Ashton whenever he's trying to say something he can't quite phrase. Another second passes before the douche moves, kneeling in front of Kylie and placing both his hands on either side of her. Kind is the last word I'll ever use to describe the man, but in this minute there's a smile on his face I can't place, tender by all means for someone as obnoxious as him. It's a curious thing to see, if not
Listen
a bit
here,
odd.
sweetie. Tia was already a great person before she met me.
She is? But I don't see her doing anything. She's always at home.
Oh.
Not always, Munchkin. Did you know she's really good at numbers?
You're good with them too. You helped me with my homework once.
Once.
Well, Tia's much better than me. She used to do maths with big numbers.
Yeah, most of the money's
like
hers.
Millions?
No. Gazillions. And she's really good at it. So much so that her dad let her manage anything that had to do with it. That was even before she met me, too.
Does that mean she's better than you?
Yes.
Oh, leagues, Munchkin. Way better than I'll ever be.
For some reason, I don't think he's still talking about his wife's mathematical prowess as his voice trails off. In fact, if I had not been paying closer attention, I would have noticed the change in him. The slight shift in his smile from one that's tender to something wistful, like remembering a memory that has always been fond of, but has often kept to himself. And at that fleeting glance of it, a tiny, insignificant part of the world somehow also shifts. Opinions changing, impressions moving.
You know what? Why don't you ask Tia next time you have homework,
Okay, next time I'll ask her to help out.
See? No need to marry a good-for-nothing bloke.
Can I also tell her to not stay at home anymore? If Tia's good at it, I'm sure she can help you out too. And Papa. He computes a lot of numbers too. Tia can help him.
You go do that. I'm sure she'll love to hear it, Munchkin, even if it's been a while since.
Another silence from him. Then without missing a beat, he turns Kylie around and lightly pats her shoulder in a gesture to end their conversation right here and there. Probably before he can say other things he's never intended to say, or as a child is not meant
But
to
off
hear.
you go first. I think I saw your friend run off to the other classroom. The one with the pigtails? Go say hi to her. You still have those jelly babies to give her, yes?
All right, but wait for me, okay? I've got loads more to show you. They put up my drawing on the bulletin the other day. I'm gonna take you there later. I'll be back.
She soon disappears behind the small crowd, none the wiser the sudden change in the mood around her. Luke straightens as soon as she's gone. The expression on his face grows less kind now that there's no one to reassure. Despite that, a chuckle still escapes me. His head quickly snaps at me, an accusing glare clear in his eyes. Although it's less threatening now, considering what I've witnessed earlier. Funny how one person's impression of someone can easily change with that minute detail.
Why are you laughing like that?
Don't mind me. I just saw something surprising
Don't fall
today.
for his
Don't let it
bullshit.
bother you.
You know, putting it like that won't make me any less inclined to ask. What is it, woman? If this is another one of your threats, I've already told you it isn't going to work on me. That good teacher act isn't going to fool anyone.
What makes you think it has to do with you? I could have just remembered something funny. Not everything in this world revolves around you, mister.
I am not daft, Daisy. It's on your face for all the world to see. Now, say it so we can be done with this stupid talk.
I let out another laugh, words delayed than to express any sort of amusement over the matter. In truth, I don't know where to start. One wrong move, one wrong word, and I might offend the man. Good. I don't care. He's childish enough for that, even if what I'm about to say are just mere honest observations. So which one of these gives me the worst outcome with him? Because I don't like him. Because they're gonna sit here and they're gonna try and make me like him as the story goes on, and then in his story arc, you know, they're gonna try. Well, in his story arc, I'm just gonna have to be a super douchebag and try and hook up with everybody. But I mean, he was trying to bang Marianne, and he banged their best friends. His wife's best friend, and so now she has his kid. Don't be fooled. And he tried to, you know, he's just no.
You really think that?
Wait a second, what'd I do? Yeah, we went down. Hell yeah. Let's go. It's an honest question. Because no matter how much I turn it around inside my head, the gap between the man standing in front of me and the idea I have of him just won't connect. Not that the gesture will go a long way with him. Something in his demeanor tells me he's definitely not the kind of man who readily accepts such when they are given to him. Rather, he feels entitled to it from the get-go, so long as you're standing in front of him, he expects it to be there, demands for it when he cannot see it in you. And after all those insults we've hurled at each other, I don't think it'll matter much to him if I point out the ugly truths or brandish it to his face. As expected, it doesn't throw him off in the least, and he merely raises a questioning brow at me.
About what?
About what you told Kylie. And don't you think she's a bit too young for that kind of talk?
Kylie's 6, Daisy, not an infant who still needs help changing her nappy. At her age, she can already handle more than that. Besides, it's better to nip this whole thing at the bud. You know, before she starts thinking that a man's ego defines her self-worth. I certainly don't need someone else to define me. Why should any godchild of mine do? So, do I really think that? Yes. Yes, very much so. Why shouldn't I?
All right, I get it. I'm sorry. You just didn't seem the type to me.
I've intended to end the conversation right there and simply go my way. Shit, we should have left 10 minutes ago. I no longer have any business here, and our deputy principal's stories sound more enticing the longer I stand here. With the manner Luke's almost ranting, I have a feeling this won't end if I say more. Though, thinking about it, I should have left the second he has taken the box from me. Yeah, I know. Naturally, he doesn't get the hint.
The type.
Just walk away.
And what, pray tell, would my type be according to your standards, woman?
The sort I'd happily bury alive.
Well, would you look at what's coming out of those pretty little lips? Watch the language, Daisy. You're supposed to be teaching children. What would ever happen to this nation?
You know what I mean.
Oh, and you somehow find that tidbit funny.
Come here. Alright, I just had to shut the door behind me.
A little, I admit. That sort of wisdom is the last thing I expected to come from you. I mean, look at yourself. Pampered and pompous to the last hair. You've probably never been to this side of Luxborn until a few days ago.
Daisy, just because I'm dressed miles better than the average bloke you see every day, doesn't mean I'm incapable of thinking on your level.
Yeah, whatever. What's our relationship with him? Good, as far as I can go.
Actually, I'm all surprised we aren't on the same page on this. I expected better from someone with enough balls to hit a random stranger with a bloody book. In public, mind you. Someone my goddaughter looks up to, even. Guess you can't have everything in this world,
What? Of course I'm...
Oh, I get it. Running on presupposed notions, aren't we? My, what a dangerous thing to practice for a teacher.
It doesn't have anything to do with...
What is it this time, I wonder? Oh, wait, don't say it, let me guess. What do those random gossips in this bloody city usually say? Oh, right. You probably think I'd go with clingy, spoiled kind, didn't you?
Where did that... How did you even come to that conclusion?
Oh, don't lie to me now, Daisy. But just so we're clear, if I wanted an arm decor, I'd have gone with the first brainless munter I picked up on the streets. I have standards, you know.
I haven't even said a word. I was just asking what you thought of it.
Oh, but you were thinking about it or else you wouldn't have asked. Might as well get it out of the way,
You are impossible.
So they say. Tell me something I didn't know, Daisy.
You... I really have no idea how anyone with half a brain can put up with you. Let me speak with your wife sometime. I'd love to ask her.
That last remark just came out. Who cares? There might be a sliver of truth in it, but I shouldn't have phrased it like that. Even for my own standards, or the kind of person I'm talking to, it's still quite rude. An apology is already out of my throat, but the minute I open my mouth, all of what I've prepared myself to say dissipates. Lost in the moment in front of me. He has turned gaze outside, staring at some point past buildings blocking the view of the sky, equally lost in his thoughts. He's a vexing man under so many standards. However, in this moment, the morning light streaming from the window lends his features a certain air, softer, less severe than what he often flaunts. I might as well be looking at a different man. There's a tender note in his voice when he finds it, the words muttered under his breath, not intended for anyone but himself. Nevertheless, it reaches my ears, unintentional as it may be.
You're right.
I know.
She deserves someone far better than me.
I know. All that talk about self-works makes some sense now. It isn't some profound knowledge he pulled out of his ass. It has come about because he's already been there, likely still stuck in the middle of it. Preaching about your own personal experience is easier, after all. Less room for mistakes, more for a dose of self-loathing. What a complicated man. Just when you thought you've already figured him out, he does one thing and says the other. People like him are the most difficult to gauge, far harder to understand. Yet it might be exactly for this reason why some are so easily charmed by him. It's the mystery that catches them, of wanting to find out what's underneath that bravado. I won't count myself among those, yet his winning personality isn't exactly my cup of tea. But sometimes, once you get a glimpse of what's beyond the machismo, empathizing with him is much easier. If the comfortable silence we now share tells anything, that's it. That is, perhaps this is as close to a friendship as we can have, several insults flung around with a few shared silences in between, and it's not exactly a bad thing. He's not exactly a bad guy either, despite the awkward start we've had. Maybe it's for this reason that I can't resist throwing in a little comment to lift his mood before leaving him.
You know, Luke, you're not such a bad person.
Is that supposed to make me feel better? I'm touched, Daisy.
Take it how you will, but a little attitude change would help. A lot.
Bollocks. Right, of course. Let me know when you're done with your lecture, ma'am.
And you can probably start by not leaving your wife out while you're having some quality time with your goddaughter. Who knows? Maybe that'll help change how the child sees her.
Where did you even get the idea I'm leaving my wife out? Have you ever even met?
No, but I did see her with you two last time.
Uh-oh. His indifferent expression quickly dissolves in a confused scowl, while I met it with matching perplexity. It has only been 2 days. Surely his memory isn't that bad.
What? When was this?
At the cafe. After you left, she was sitting right beside you.
Oh.
Kylie was at the back and you were driving.
Daisy, are you sure you haven't accidentally hit yourself with your own book? Because that damn thing's quite thick, and I'm really getting worried about you. It has only been a few days, and concussions can be dangerous. I suggest you have that checked.
Well, you asked. I just answered. It's pretty rude to make her wait like that, by the way.
How can I make her wait when she's not even with us?
What?
It was just Kylie and I that night.
Now you're just pulling my leg.
Luke exhales, long and drawn out, his impatience rapidly changing the companionable air around us in the face of it. I've accidentally stepped into another minefield. Any chat I've had with him so far has been like this. Abort. Why this still surprises me escapes me, but above my worries of offending the man is my own bewilderment. I remember well enough what I saw the night, yet he says something completely different.
Wifey was out with Kylie's mummy that night. She wasn't with us. How do you think I ended up on babysitting duty?
But in the front seat. And Kylie's...
Miss Pink!
Kylie's sobs reach my ears first, then her familiar weight returns around my waist again. Get off, child. Hot tears seep through my blouse as she buries her face in her arms, winding tightly. Luke and I briefly exchange worried glances, his own lips shut tight with concern. Her cries are soft enough not to attract much attention. Most of the visitors have been ushered inside the rooms by now anyway. Those that still linger, though, watch our little group with great interest and concern. If I don't get a better handle of the situation, I have a feeling Luke will start yelling at everyone soon. Kneeling, I gently pull the girl away from me, cupping her face and wiping away tears, creating little trails on her cheeks. Her mouth is drawn in a miserable pout when she peers up at me.
All right, Kylie. Calm down. What happened?
It's my friend!
Is your friend dead?
That's a little too vague, Munchkin.
Let her speak, Luke. Who is it, Kylie? Melody? Or was it the other one?
Yeah.
Did the two of you fight?
She nods and immediately clams up after, letting her sobs communicate the story instead, or as much as her shaking shoulders can tell. Right behind me, Luke gives a nervous huff when he shifts on his feet. He must not be used to handling children crying. What a
Sweetie,
wuss.
I won't be able to help you if you don't tell me what happened.
Seconds pass before she responds again. The tears are already gone when she finally musters the strength to talk, her cries subsiding to mere sniffles.
I wanted to give her the rest of the jelly babies, but she won't come out!
Where? Where is she?
In the little girl's room.
Is she still there?
No. Another nod. I ain't going in there.
What's wrong? I kept asking her, but she told me to go away. Career Day's going to start soon. I saw the prizes Miss Alice will give us for good. She's gonna miss it.
Is that what you told her?
Yeah, she won't listen. She won't even take the jelly babies. After I saved it for her, too. She and Luke wanted to eat the red ones, but I told him it's not for him. Miss Pink, can you talk to her?
No.
Tell her to come out, and I'm really upset with her.
Ah. Just a little childish argument then. Times like this, I'm glad to teach teenagers mature enough for petty squabbles. I do love being around children and won't mind having one or two of my own in the future, but it takes a whole different level of patience to teach several of them. I honestly admire my colleagues who willingly took the challenge. Normally, I'll leave this for their homeroom teacher's fix, but I just can't ignore the imploring look she shoots me. That's another weakness I have to steel myself against before I ever think of having one of my own. For now, I give into it.
Tell me where she is, sweetie.
Ow. She's in the girls' bathroom. Sighing, I stand up and gesture for her to lead the way. Luke trails quietly behind us. Even with the small distance in between, his apprehension is palpable, understandably so. No one wants to be caught in the middle of a children's spat. But in the end, this is all just part of my job. I can't just shy away from it, can I? Yeah, I can. I don't want to go in there. Kylie escorts me this side of the quarters, and the room lining its sides are empty. Save for the gentle rustling of leaves, the tweetering of birds outside, and the tapping of our foots against the floor, the whole area stays eerily quiet. Not unusual, though. This is the part of the building reserved for club activities at the end of the school day. With the rest of the school busy with another event, it's only natural for it to be this deserted. Come afternoon, right after class, it'll once again be filled with people. For the time being, I focus on the toilets at the far end, heading straight for it. Luke stays behind, opting to wait for the end of the drama instead, obviously not wanting to deal with another person's kid. Meanwhile, Kylie follows right after me, unusually silent as we approach the ladies' room. Sometime before we made the turn down the hallway, she had stopped sniffling and started singing a tune under her breath.
London Bridge is falling down, falling down.
Probably to brace or calm herself, or maybe this is a way of preparing to pull her friend out of her sulk.
My fair lady.
Certainly reminds me of another person. I make no remarks on it, however. It's all part of growing up, they say. Let her learn. The door is slightly ajar when we get to it, and from inside the sobs of girl echo weakly, barely audible even in the kind of hush. Turns out Kylie's not the only one upset about this. Despite the situation, a smile forms in my lips as I call out to her friend.
Hello? Hello there? You're Kylie's friend, aren't you? Melody, is it? She's looking for you.
Jordan can be so amusing sometimes. No, I don't want to go in there. Granted, they can be exasperating, especially around this age, but the endearing things about them, outweigh those. All you need is enough level of
Career
patience.
day's about to start, too. You'll have to come out, or you're going to be really late for it.
No.
Miss Alice won't be happy if one of her kids isn't there. I heard she brought little gifts for everyone who'll behave. Don't you want to receive one?
However, her cries show no signs of abating. They only grow louder. Not close to a wail. Alarming. Regardless.
Are you okay?
I'm not okay. From where I'm standing, it sounds almost like she's in some kind of pain, and it's not impossible. They do that at times, hiding what ails them for fear of a reprimand. If it's like that, coaxing her out might be useless. It also makes sense why she chose the loo furthest from their classroom. Wasting no time, I just for Kylie to wait and amble towards the door calmly so I don't alarm her. No. At the same time, a distant sense of deja vu hits me. No. I've been in this position before, behind a door with someone crying on the other side. My calls ignored as their cries grow into a wail. Just this past week, actually. Even so, being in the same situation before doesn't bring any comfort. I'm putting up for the child beside me is the thick undercurrent of worrying trickling into my stomach. I take one last breath, then I nudge open the door. It all happens in the span of a second. Quick time event. I don't make it past 2 steps into the room. Her cries abruptly stop. Light footsteps shuffle behind me, coming to a halt at the door. My heart skips a beat, and when I turn...
Kylie?
Miss Pink? Miss Pink? Why didn't you help her?
My whole body becomes motionless at the sight of her, words catching in my throat and a heart pounding rapidly against my chest. This is Kylie, I'm sure of it. Yet nothing in the manner she speaks or the way she tilts her head in question carries the youthful, innocent vibe she always brings with her. Oh my god, stop opening the door. Hold on. Hey, sorry about that. As I'm merely looking at a dead, hollow imitation of the child.
Can't you hear her? She's asking for your help.
Listen, if I have to kill a kid, I will, but it is not those that trigger the memory. It's those chilling eyes, calling, beckoning.
Why won't you listen to her?
All at once, the memory returns to me. The tide that has receded now returns to shore with an overwhelming force carrying images of a single moment from days ago, of a world passing by in a blur, and of features I can barely discern under the little light there was. Not even a week has passed. In this minute, while I keep my eyes trained on the child before me, they returned with such unbearable clarity. There are no horrid wounds this time, no blood streaming down a pale face, thank heavens. Just lips contorted in a small, twisted smile. They brim with venom I've never expected to ever see in a child, sending tiny pinpricks of dread crawling up my limbs. You're a bad person. People like you deserve to die. I can't breathe. Those whispers and laughters again. Am I gonna have to do a quick time event? Judging, mocking, taunting. Each scathing word ringing sharp and true against my ears. My throat closes in. My whole body tenses. Chill settles at the tip of my fingers, every digit gone rigid from the cold. With every single draw of breath, any struggle for air or freedom, the coils wrapped around my body tighten, dragging me down. A gradual, torturous descent into another bottomless pit. On and on and on, until I lose touch with myself and the world.
Help me!
Until darkness claims me, and, unexpectedly, a note. In the distance, harsh and piercing, cutting through the thick stupor and shattering the haze without warning.
Are you ladies done with your business here? I'll have all morning to wait for you two.
My eyes snap open and the world shifts into place with a ragged gasp. When I glance up, a different set of eyes greets me.
Are you okay, Miss Pink?
No. No anger, no vile hatred in them. Just plain, sincere concern. Bit by bit, I become aware of my surroundings and myself as warmth steadily slips back to me. I've reached out for the nearby counter to steady myself at some point, and my knuckles have gone white from how rigid my grip on it is. It's over now, yet the tension hasn't left my body. My heart still hammers hard against my chest in an erratic rhythm, and my breathing still comes in short, shallow bursts. Before me, Kylie fumbles with her hands, utterly unsure of what to do to an adult in what's probably a laughable state.
I'll call Tio, okay? Stay here and don't move.
No. No need. Just leave me alone.
Tio will know how to fix you. Oh, wait, okay?
I wish I can speak reassurance to her, but I can't shake it off. The dread is there, twisting at my insides in anticipation. Of what? Am I no longer sure? Pushing myself off the counter, I break off into a run, brushing off the anxious look Kylie gives me when I gently push her away on my way out, or the furrow in Luke's brows when I stumble into him outside. Whatever they both saw on my face, I care not to know. Bloody hell, I don't even understand what's happening anymore. The tremors continue long after the last of my classes have ended. Although none of my students have commented on it, I've caught a few sharing anxious glances every time a pen slips from my hand or the shoulders. How unusual it must be for them to see normally composed Miss Gales become a bundle of nerves. Even the most boisterous ones have given me less grief today. You'd think being on my fourth cup of tea would provide any sort of comfort. Or is this the fifth? God, how does counting matter now? Why does counting matter now? The fact that I can't easily shake it off this time should tell me something. The last time this happened, I passed it off as some lapse in my part after having been sick the week
And it is
before.
a natural conclusion.
Those are just stories, century-old lore passed by locals keep children in line. What place doesn't have those? One of my Da's books even went as far as to describe them as a strong part of Isabella's culture. Tree giants, women who feed on unborn children straight from a mother's womb or hell. There's even that one story about a demon. All folklore that never had a smidgen of truth in it, most probably told to scare off the natives there back in the old days. Much like every other one in every other place, the world is more universal than people care to think, but looking at it from where I'm standing now, after staring right in the eyes of that woman, after all the things I've been hearing and feeling, perhaps there's really more to that bloody letter than some awful Halloween prank.
Perhaps Isabella's right all along.
No shit. A terrible thing, if true, though that thought doesn't linger long. Soon the ringing of my mobile takes my attention away from it. Thank God I can finally... An unfamiliar name flashes before me once the screen lights up and my brows knit together. Marianne McCollum. Staring hard at the screen and trying to remember when I've entered this person on my contact list. takes a moment, but when it clicks, my eyes zero in on the book lying wide open on my table. Loaned down from the library almost a week ago, I met the woman there, by sheer coincidence, a fellow history buff apparently. We were after the same book, but in the end, she's given it to me under the condition that I call her once I'm done. To be honest, I've completely forgot about it until now, and well, I haven't really taken a peek at it until today. Normally, I'd be done with the whole volume of this size a few days after taking it out, about 1 or 2, depending on how busy I am. But finding a chance to sit down and read through it has been more difficult lately than I anticipated. One moment I'm busy simply grading worksheets, attending a movie premiere the next, and someone's suddenly inviting me out for one reason or another. Days later, a friend stops showing up in her flat right after worrying reports pop up in the local news. There simply isn't enough time to breathe and get a grip on things. I have been flipping through the pages of said book moments ago, though never really reading anything and merely hoping for a distraction. To no avail. My phone gives out another ring, and this time I do not hesitate to answer.
Marianne?
Hello! Here I was starting to wonder if it was a bad time to call. Is it?
No, not at all. I dismissed my last class a few minutes ago. I'm pretty much free for the rest of the afternoon, unless something comes up. Is this about last time? The book?
Not really. I was hoping to ask you about some other thing.
Oh, sure. What about?
You grew up in this city, didn't you?
It's a peculiar question to ask to someone you've just met, but I answer her nevertheless. I'm more curious where she's heading with this by starting with that.
Born and raised, 3rd generation migrant. Why do you ask?
So, you must be familiar with the local lore. The, stories?
Quite. If I'm going to teach about history, I'd like to think I am, yeah? But a family friend would be a better person to ask. If you want, I can contact him for you.
No, let's just keep this thing between us, okay? It's nothing too big. All right. I really don't know how else to put this without sounding a bit crazy. But things have been really, odd. Do you remember the mansion I mentioned back when we met? My current project?
In hindsight, I should have expected it'll lead to this. She must not have lived here long if she keeps asking about this now. If she's just asking about this now. It didn't take a week with Isabella when she arrived, but that's Isabella, superstitious down to the last hair. Though it won't be too far off to think Marianne has also started thinking about this recently. She's working on the damn house itself. I must admit, even I'm curious now, despite living here for so many years and having so many chances to look it up before.
The Ermengarde Mansion, yes?
Yes, that one. And, the thing is, oh dear, this is a bad idea. You know what? Just forget I ever called you about this.
She didn't say anything. See things.
No, wait. It's all right. I don't mind.
There's a moment pause before she responds again. She's right in that. That's a silly thing to talk about, especially between what I assume two people who are pretty grounded on their beliefs with regards to these things. I won't blame her if she hesitates.
I can't believe I'm asking you about this.
It's fine. Why don't you just think of it as some form of research?
Well, all right. But after this, we're going to forget we ever had this talk.
My lips will be sealed. Now, what is it about the mansion?
Just, what do you know about it? The general gist. The place's past. What happened to the owners? Anything you can give me.
Let's see. To start off,
I do my best to give her a concise summary from the time the house was commissioned 400 years ago and who had it built, up to the point it got deserted after the last heir's death, and the deed was passed on to the Ermengarde's nearest relatives. Frankly, if it weren't for those urban legends persisting, the house would have already faded into obscurity long ago. Demolished, even. These are all nothing she probably hasn't heard of before, yet there's dissatisfaction in her tone once I finish.
All there really is to it?
As far as I know. There's this little bit I forgot to mention about Lady Charlotte Ermengarde's death, but most of those are just theories. Aside from that, this is really everything we've been teaching all these years. Should there be anything more?
No mention of any other weird stuff? Other crazy stories? Or a letter of some sort?
Finally, my blood runs cold. Any warmth and comfort the tea I've drank has given me prior and has instantly been drained out of me. The phone creaks softly as my light hold on it turns into a firm grip. This whole letter bullshit is starting to turn into more than a coincidence.
None that I've heard or read of. What does a letter have to do with this?
Oh, no. It was just something I came across. Ignore it. Random thoughts, you know? By the way, I need to run. Thanks for answering my questions.
She ends the call abruptly with only a clipped goodbye, leaving my mind heavy with even more thoughts. The mood around my classroom has gone considerably denser in light of what little I've gleaned from that conversation. I don't think Marianne's lying about her intent. Her interest is genuine, I'd give her that, but she's left a lot of things out. I get the sense she's only asked because something's happening around her too, and if she hadn't mentioned the letter, I probably wouldn't have made the connection.
Just what the hell did we get ourselves into?
Oh my god, Rebecca, you fucking idiot. Of course, there's still a lot of confusing details in this. Get the group together. All of these are just assumptions. No concrete conclusion to be formed with what we have, and if we want to find out what we're really dealing with, I think Marianne's right. There might be something more to those stories. As absurd as it sounds, the very place that gave us that letter might tell us something beyond what we know. And tomorrow night, I have a few hours of that chance at the housewarming party. Totally not an exciting thought, since the place is privately owned now, I can't just wander around. But it's enough to reason to keep the dread at bay as I step out of the room, ready to put an end to this day. However, those good vibes disappear into thin air. There's really something in this man. Regardless of how much my opinion of him has changed over the span of a few hours, he simply blasts through every good impression people have of him without care or thought. He doesn't even need to open his mouth. His mere presence does it. In all honesty, I think he's the kind of guy only a mother can love.
You're still here?
Obviously. Who do you think standing in front of you?
An ass.
It was
Oh, come on, Daisy. You've done better than that. Losing your touch?
Oh my god.
Luke, I don't have time for this. I'm heading home, and your face is the last thing I want to see before I leave. What do you want?
Belatedly, I notice his hand, partly raised, almost poised for a knock. At a slight lift of an eyebrow, he quickly drops it to his side and turns to Kylie. She's standing a few steps away from him, holding her hands beneath her back and towing at something on the floor with the tip of her shoe. And then he proceeds to make vague gestures at me and the child. He resembles a fish flopping for air with the way he's moving his arms, so I think he's trying to urge her to speak up.
Munchkin, I thought you wanted to tell her something.
You do it, Tio.
This wasn't my idea, darling.
Don't worry. I won't tell Tia what you told me the other day. And this morning.
Luke exhales, rolling his eyes at the ceiling, maybe praying for the universe to grant him more patience. He knows a losing battle when he sees one. He may act worse than a 5-year-old throwing a tantrum at times, but he's no match for an actual child. Nothing better than being served a dose of his own medicine, huh? Once his frustration has been promptly let out, he points a rude finger at me. I do my best to stare the offending digit down, but I can already hear the demand before it's even out of his lips.
You, come with us.
Excuse
What
me?
makes you think I will?
Because little Rugrat here is upset and worried, and it's your bloody fault. I've
Oh?
no idea what happened this morning, but if you don't come with us, I won't be hearing the end of it from her. So do me a favor, Daisy, and just be glad I'm inviting you.
You're asking for a favor, and you can't be bothered to be polite? I don't know. It's been a really busy day for me. I kind of miss my couch.
Daisy, you just say yes.
Pause follows, almost too dramatic. Afterwards, his face twists into something between a grimace and a smile. As it happens, he appears like he's in a lot of physical pain. You think the man is getting an aneurysm by simply being polite.
Please?
Tio said it'll be his treat.
What? I said no such thing, Munchkin.
I ain't fucking
I only
coming with
agreed to
you
this
guys.
because you requested it. I'm under no obligation to feed her.
I promise I'll be quiet the next time I visit.
Oh, all right, but just one meal and make it the cheapest.
He and Ashton will get along famously on that department. On a different front, the offer of a free dinner does sound enticing, however half-heartedly given it is. No. Mostly because Kylie has wisely put on her puppy eyes. By the second I find all my choices slipping away from
See,
me.
Miss Pink? It'll be fun. You don't have to feel sad anymore, okay?
I don't
Oh,
feel
well,
sad. My mobile buzzes from my pocket, cutting me mid-sentence. For a second, I'm spared from the act of giving an answer I'll regret either way. Fishing the gadget out, I wave a hand at him and excuse myself. A disgruntled expression is on Luke's face before I turn away. I'd be lying if I say it didn't amuse me. He's as eager to be dealt with this as I am, but what can I do? You can just say no. Checking a message from Ashton shows up. I'll be around this scene. Need to meet someone in the area. I might have to drop by yours in a little bit. Unlike what he does, Zachary, Ashton has a decency to let us know when he's dropping by or if he's in the area for some business. Perfect. We're gonna use Ashton as a scapegoat. Make me bang him. See you next time.